Today we're going to look at a little bit of the history of the famous Newberry celery and why Newberry was at one time known as the celery capital of Michigan. In the early days, John Sherman was the first village president of Newberry. He was also the namesake for Sherman Street and Sherman Park. He was the first person to experiment with growing celery in Newberry. He first grew celery in 1885. The first attempt of celery raising was not successful. The ground was very wet, and the horses that he used to have the fields plowed were sinking to their knees in the muck, so they had to have boards fastened to them so that they wouldn't sink so far into the ground to their knees. The small but good crop of celery raised in the 1886 and 1887 season proved that celery could be raised here. H.L. Harris came to Newberry from Wyandotte, Michigan in September of 1882. He operated the gardens. In 1892, he prepared several additional acres of partially cleared land and planted celery on about 35 acres containing 800,000 plants. In 1898, a man by the name of John Gilbert Van Tuyl came to Newberry. He was a Dutch immigrant who came to Kalamazoo. Kalamazoo was also a big-time celery grower. And Harris had put an article in the Kalamazoo newspaper looking for an experienced celery grower. John Van Tuyl answered the ad, came to Newberry, and in 1901 he purchased 11 acres from the Palms estate and started the OK Celery Garden. And together, the two celery gardens shipped celery from the Newberry Depot on train, shipped places as like Detroit, Grand Rapids, Duluth, and Chicago. Many fine hotels in the United States served Newberry celery, and their menus even stated Newberry celery was served at their hotels. The celery grown in Newberry was known as the golden plume variety. It was not the green Paschal celery that we have today. And it was grown on a relatively small scale. Van Tuyl's garden was only about 20 acres, and Harris's was about the same size. Newberry high school athletic teams didn't get the moniker of the Indians until the early 1930s. They didn't really have a moniker, but all the newspapers in the UP referred to Newberry's athletic teams as the Celery City Boys, or the Celery City Cagers, and or the Celeriites. H.L. Harris's garden, after he died, his son Leighton operated the gardens until the 1940s. Van Tuyl operated his garden until 1925. And when he died, his daughter Bertha and his son-in-law Victor Lone, they were both teachers at Holly, Michigan. They came to Newberry to take over the gardens and change the name to Lone's Garden. The golden plume variety, as I mentioned earlier, that was grown here, this crisp white long-stalked celery thrived in the rich black muckland and was in great demand all over the country. But the golden plume variety required a great deal of attention and moisture. The dirt was banked high on the stalks to bleach it, and it made it more crisp and didn't have a lot of strings in the stalk.